Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep into a world that is, let's face it, a little creepy for some
Yeah,
people.
you could say that.
We're talking about spiders, specifically the ones you can find right here in California.
And it looks like you sent us a ton of info about these eight-legged critters. So
I think it's safe to say you're ready to become a real arachnologist.
that's right. We'll be looking at everything from the spiders you see in your garden to the ones that might make you want to, well, run in the other direction.
Speaking of which, this article from Simple Pest Management says that California has a huge variety of spiders.
Absolutely. And that's what makes them so interesting.
Yeah, it says here that while most of them are harmless,
Right.
there are a few that we should definitely watch out for.
For sure. You know, you've got the black widow, for instance.
Oh, yeah, the black widow?
It's practically a celebrity in the spider world.
Yeah, with that shiny black body and the red hourglass.
That's right, the red hourglass.
I've always wondered, how can you tell the males and females apart?
Oh, well, it's the female black widows that have that really noticeable hourglass.
Uh,
The males can be a bit harder to spot. Their markings might be fainter or even incomplete.
oh, interesting. So it's kind of like they're trying to blend in.
Yeah, you could say that.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Maybe we should all be checking our shoes before putting them on, especially if we live in black widow territory.
It's definitely a good idea.
The article also mentioned brown recluses, but I thought those weren't really found in California.
That's right. Brown recluses aren't native to California. Most sightings here are actually accidental. They might hitch a ride in a moving box or something like that and end up far from where they're supposed to be.
So they're like accidental tourists.
Exactly. But they do have a relative, the desert recluse,
Oh, right, the desert recluse.
that lives in the southern parts of the state.
So it's like a family affair, but maybe one we want to avoid.
Yeah, probably best to admire them from a distance.
Now, I remember reading about that violin-shaped marking on brown recluses.
Yep, that's one way to identify them.
And they're known for being pretty shy, right?
Yeah, that's actually what makes them a bit more of a concern, you know?
How so?
Well, because they like to hide away in places that are warm, dry, and undisturbed.
Oh, I see.
Like closets, attics, even piles of clothes.
So you might not even know they're there until, well,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, maybe we should move on to some of the friendlier spiders out there.
All right, sounds good.
What about wolf spiders? They sound pretty intense just from the name.
Oh, yeah, they're fascinating. Wolf spiders are really good hunters, and a lot of people mistake them for tarantulas because they're kind of hairy.
Oh, really? I hadn't thought of that.
But unlike tarantulas, they don't spin webs to catch their prey. They're out there actively hunting.
So they're like the ninjas of the spider world.
Yeah, exactly. And they're actually great for us because they help control the insect populations in our gardens.
That's a good point. Now, we can't talk about pest control without mentioning the orb-weavers.
Oh, absolutely.
Those webs they make are just incredible.
They really are, those perfectly symmetrical webs. Have you ever seen one up close?
Yeah, definitely. It's like they're these tiny architects or
Those
something.
little engineers.
I especially love the garden spider. It's so big and colorful.
Right, it's hard to miss, and they're really great to have around in your garden because they eat lots of pests.
Totally harmless, right?
Yeah, very non-aggressive. Speaking of spiders that like to make themselves at home, how about yellow sac spiders?
I read that those guys are pretty common both indoors and outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that they make these silk sacks to hide in during the day?
Yeah, those little silk tubes are like their daytime retreats.
Interesting. So where do they usually hang out?
They can be found pretty much anywhere. They're pretty adaptable.
Okay, I see.
You know, they get a bad rap because they can bite,
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
but it's usually nothing to worry about, just some minor irritation.
So nothing a little anti-itch cream can't fix.
Exactly. Now, one of my favorites has got to be the jumping spider.
Oh, yeah. Those are so cool.
I mean, those colors, those jumps, they're like little acrobats.
They really are.
They've got incredible eyesight and hunting skills.
What else makes them stand out?
Well, they're known for being really curious. They'll often turn and face you when you approach.
It's almost like they're checking you out.
It's really neat.
Okay, so we've got spiders in the garden, spiders that like to hide, spiders that jump. What about those spiders that seem to prefer the darker spots in our homes?
You mean like cellar spiders?
Yeah, those are the ones with the super long legs, right?
That's right. They're also known as daddy longlegs. Those long legs and their tiny bodies hanging from ceilings are a pretty common sight.
And what's really fascinating is that they often carry their egg sacs in their webs or even in their mouths.
It's true, they're very dedicated parents.
So it seems like a lot of these spiders are actually beneficial, especially for
Yeah.
keeping those pesky insects under control.
Absolutely.
What about the banded garden spider? I read that they're good for the garden too, right?
Oh, definitely. The banded garden spider is a beauty with its black, white, and yellow markings. And just like the orb weavers, they help keep those garden pests in check.
So they're like the fashion icons of the spider world.
Yeah, you could say that.
Stylish and functional?
Exactly. Now, one spider I've been hearing a lot about lately is the brown widow.
Oh, the brown widow. What's the deal with them?
Well, they're closely related to the black widow, and they look pretty similar, but they're more of an orange-brown color.
Okay, so I guess that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, and they have an orange hourglass shape on their abdomen.
So it's not red like the black widow.
Nope, it's orange.
Interesting. And are they just as dangerous?
Well, the good news is they're not as aggressive, and their venom isn't as strong as the black widow's.
Okay, that is good news.
But that doesn't mean they're completely harmless. Their bite can still cause some discomfort.
Right, I guess it's always best to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely. And something else to be aware of is that they're becoming more common in Southern California.
I didn't know that. What about grass spiders?
Oh, yeah, those are the ones known for their funnel-shaped webs.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
They use those webs to ambush their prey.
That's pretty clever.
They're incredibly fast, too, and they usually build their webs in grassy areas or bushes.
Makes sense. All right, I think we have to address the elephant in the room. Or, I guess, the spider in the web.
What do you mean?
The false black widow. The one that everyone always mistakes for its more dangerous relative.
Yes. The false black widow. They cause a lot of confusion because they're dark brown and have a round abdomen, like the black widow.
Yeah, I could see how that would be confusing.
But the key difference is that they don't have that red hourglass marking.
Okay, so it's all about the markings.
Pretty much.
But even though they're less harmful, they can still bite, right?
That's right. So it's best to admire all these fascinating creatures from a safe distance.
Yeah, probably a good rule of thumb for all spiders. Now, I'm curious to know more about what makes spiders so beneficial to our ecosystem. I mean, we talk about pest control, but what else is there?
That's a great question. You know, it's interesting because this Simple Pest Management article we've been talking about, they offer services to deal with spiders, but they also really emphasize the importance of understanding these creatures.
So it's not just about getting rid of them.
Exactly. They want people to learn to live in harmony with spiders, not just eliminate them.
I like that. But why are spiders so important besides just eating pests?
Well, they're incredibly efficient predators, and they play a vital role in keeping insect populations under control.
Okay, I see.
Imagine a world without spiders. Insect populations would explode. It would be a disaster, especially for our crops and ecosystems.
So they're kind of like tiny superheroes.
Exactly. They're protecting our planet in their own way.
It's funny how sometimes the creatures we find the creepiest are actually the ones doing so much good for us.
It's all about perspective, right?
Yeah, definitely. So maybe instead of fearing spiders, we should be thanking them.
I think that's a great takeaway.
Now, before we move on to the more practical stuff, like how to deal with spiders in our homes, I have one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember reading something about a possible new spider species making its way into California.
Ah, yes. The mysterious newcomer.
Is there any truth to those rumors?
Well, there have been some sightings of a spider that doesn't really match any of the known species in California.
So it's a real-life spider mystery.
Exactly. By the end of this deep dive, we'll see if we can figure out who this mystery spider is.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. But for now, I think we need to move on to some practical tips for dealing with those eight-legged house guests.
Yeah, let's do it.
Stay tuned. So we've met some of California's spider crew, I guess you could say.
Yeah, a whole cast of characters.
But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Finding a spider in your house, well,
Yeah.
it can be a bit freaky.
It definitely can be.
So what do we do? What's the best way to deal with these eight-legged house guests?
Well, first of all, remember that most of the time, you don't need to panic.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Simple Pest Management actually recommends some really simple and safe ways to remove spiders without using any harsh chemicals.
Okay, so let's say I see a spider just hanging out in my living room.
Right.
What's the first step? Should I just, scream and run away?
Well, you could, but there's a better way.
Okay, I'm all ears.
You've probably heard of the jar and paper method.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
It's simple and it works. You just gently trap the spider under the jar and then slide a piece of paper underneath.
Okay, I see.
That way you can safely transport the spider back outside.
Seems like it's a spider relocation program.
Exactly. Give them a one-way ticket back to nature.
What if the spider is in a tricky spot, like up in a corner or behind some furniture?
Well, believe it or not, your vacuum cleaner can actually come in handy here. Yeah, just make sure you empty the bag or canister right away so the spider can't escape.
Right, no spider joyrides back into the house. But it seems like no matter how many spiders I get rid of, more always come back.
Yeah, I hear you.
Is there anything I can do to prevent them from coming inside in the first place?
Absolutely. One of the best things you can do is to eliminate their food source.
Okay, so I guess that means keeping things clean and getting rid of crumbs and stuff.
Exactly. Spiders are attracted to insects, so if you reduce the insects, you'll reduce the spiders.
So a clean house equals a spider-free house. I can get behind that.
It's a win-win. And another thing you can do is seal up any cracks or crevices around your doors and windows.
Like spider-proofing your home.
Yep. That will make it much harder for them to find their way inside.
That makes sense. But what if you have a really bad spider problem or you're dealing with those venomous ones we talked about earlier? When is it time to call in the professionals?
You're right. There are definitely times when it's best to leave it to the experts.
Yeah, like I wouldn't want to deal with a black widow infestation on my own.
Definitely not. If you have a large infestation, especially if venomous spiders are involved, it's time to call a pest control company.
Okay, makes sense. What about spider bites?
All right.
What should you do if you get bitten? Especially by one of the venomous ones.
Well, with venomous spider bites, like from a black widow or brown recluse, you need to get medical attention immediately.
Yeah, no messing around with those.
And a pest control expert can also help identify what kind of spider bit you know.
Oh, so they can help with that too.
Absolutely. They can also help prevent future incidents. They know how to make your home less attractive to spiders.
Okay, so it's all about being aware, taking preventative measures,
Right.
and knowing when to call for backup.
Exactly. And speaking of those brown widows, I'm curious about something.
What's that?
You know how we were talking about them becoming more common in Southern California?
Yeah.
What do the experts think is causing that? That's a question that researchers are still trying to figure out. Some think that climate change might be playing a role.
That makes sense.
And as our environment changes, the populations of different species change too.
So it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, it shows how everything is interconnected.
Even with the spiders we might not like so much.
That's right.
It reminds me, we were talking about how not all spiders build webs.
Oh, yeah, like those wolf spiders.
Yeah, they're more like little hunters running around.
Exactly. And that just goes to show how diverse spider behavior can be.
It's not all about webs.
Nope, not at all. They have all kinds of strategies for catching their prey.
Yeah, like the jumping spiders use those amazing jumps of theirs.
Right. And did you know that some spiders use their silk as a safety line?
A safety line.
Yeah, like if they're jumping from a high place.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And some can even mimic ants to avoid predators.
No way. That's incredible. Spiders are so much more clever than I thought.
They really are. And Simple Pest Management makes a really good point. It's not just about webs when it comes to spiders controlling insect populations.
Okay, I see.
It's about all these different behaviors and adaptations they've developed.
Yeah, it's a whole ecosystem thing.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about spider behavior, their role in the environment, even how to get rid of them in our homes. But there's one question I think we need to address.
Okay, what is it?
Are spiders insects?
Ah, the classic debate. A lot of people wonder about that.
What's the answer?
Well, the answer is no. Spiders are not insects.
Really? But they're both bugs, right?
Well, they both belong to a larger group called arthropods.
Okay.
But there are some key differences.
Like what?
Well, the most obvious one is the number of legs. Spiders have 8 legs, while insects only have 6.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And spiders have 2 main body parts, while insects have 3.
Huh. Interesting. Anything else?
Spiders don't have antennae or wings, which most insects do.
Right.
And, of course, spiders can make silk, which they use for webs and other things.
Okay, so 8 legs, 2 body parts, no antenna, no wings, and they make silk.
That's a spider in a nutshell.
Got it. Now, about that silk.
Yeah.
Do all spiders bite?
Well, technically all spiders have fangs and venom.
Eggs.
But don't worry, most spider fangs are too small to actually pierce human skin.
Oh, phew.
And even if they do bite, most spider bites are harmless.
Okay, that's a relief.
It might feel like a bee sting or something, but it's usually nothing serious.
So it's not like spiders are just going around biting everyone.
Not at all. They're usually not aggressive toward humans. They only bite if they feel threatened or trapped.
Makes sense.
Ah.
But we did talk about some spiders that have more dangerous venom like black widows and brown recluses.
Right.
Those are the ones we really need to watch out for.
Absolutely. You need to be able to identify them and know what to do if you get bitten.
And always seek medical attention if you think you've been bitten by a venomous spider.
Always better to be safe than sorry.
Okay, so be aware, be preventative, and be respectful of spiders.
That's a good motto.
You know, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
We have.
but we still have that mystery to solve.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Those rumors of a new spider species in California.
Right. The plot thickens.
I think it's time to put on our detective hats and see if we can crack this case.
All right, let's do it.
Stay tuned. All right, so we spent some time getting to know the spiders of California, you know, their habits, where they live, and yeah, even some of those scary stories we've all heard.
Those spiders definitely have a reputation.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
we left off with a bit of a cliffhanger, remember?
All right, the mystery spider.
Exactly. Those rumors of a new species showing up in California.
Yeah, it's like a real-life spider detective story.
Okay, so let's put our detective hats on
Oh.
and see if we can solve this case. What do we actually know about this mysterious spider?
Well, the information we have is kind of all over the place, but there's one thing that keeps coming up.
What's that?
People are seeing a spider that just doesn't look like any of the other spiders we know about here in California.
So it's like a spider rebel.
Yeah, you could say that, and that's what makes it so interesting, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
It could be a chance to document a whole new species, something we've never seen before.
Wow, that would be incredible.
Okay.
So let's look at the clues. What are people actually saying about this spider?
Well, a lot of the reports mention a spider with a really bright blue abdomen.
Blue. Like really blue.
Yeah, almost iridescent blue, which is pretty unusual for spiders around here.
Yeah, most of the spiders I've seen are brown or black or maybe yellow.
Exactly. So this blue color is definitely something that stands out.
What about its size and shape? Is there anything unusual about that?
Witnesses say it's relatively small, you know, maybe about the size of a dime,
Okay.
with a compact body and long, thin legs.
Oh.
And get this, many of them describe its web as being perfectly circular, with these really intricate patterns, almost like lace.
Oh, wow. That's pretty impressive. So we're looking for a tiny blue spider that's also an amazing web weaver.
Sounds about right. There's something else that's a bit strange, too.
Mm.
A lot of people have seen this spider out and about during the day.
Really? That's kind of unusual for spiders, isn't it?
It is. Most spiders are more active at night.
Interesting.
And some even describe it as moving really quickly, darting around almost like a hummingbird.
Okay, so we've got a blue daytime spider that makes intricate webs and moves super fast.
Exactly.
I have to say, this is sounding less and less like any spider I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it really is a mystery. It doesn't seem to fit into any of the categories we usually use for spiders.
So is there any way to even guess what kind of spider this might be?
It's really hard to say for sure without actually seeing the spider up close.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But based on what people are saying, there are a couple of possibilities.
Like what?
Well, it could be a type of orb-weaver because they're known for making those beautiful circular webs.
But you said those are usually brown or yellow, right?
Yeah, the blue color is throwing me off a bit.
That is weird.
Another thought is maybe it's some kind of jumping spider.
Oh, right. Those can be colorful.
Exactly. And they're super quick, too, but their webs are usually much smaller and simpler than what's being described.
So it's like a puzzle. We have some of the pieces, but we're still missing a few.
That's a good way to put it.
Maybe it's a variation of a spider we already know. Or maybe it's something completely new.
It could be either one, and that's what makes this whole thing so exciting. You know, discovering new species is one of the coolest things about science.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say, this deep dive has been quite an adventure.
It really has.
We started out just learning about the different spiders in California, and now we're trying to track down a brand new one.
It's amazing what you can find when you start looking closely.
Okay, so what happens next? How do we solve this spider mystery?
Well, the best way to figure out what kind of spider this is would be to actually catch one and study it.
So we need to find this blue spider superstar and convince it to cooperate with science.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's where citizen scientists can be really helpful.
Uh-huh.
If people keep an eye out, report any sightings, maybe even try to collect a specimen.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. We could finally solve this mystery.
So to all our listeners out there, if you see a blue spider that matches the description, take a picture, write down what you see it doing, and if you're feeling brave, maybe try to catch it. You might just help discover a brand new species.
That's right. And even if we don't solve this mystery right away, you know, this whole process has been a great reminder.
Of what?
That there's always more to learn about the world around us, even in our own backyards.
Yeah, it's all about being curious and paying attention to the little things.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. This deep dive into the world of California spiders has been amazing, full of surprises and a little bit creepy, but mostly just really cool.
I agree. Spiders are pretty fascinating creatures when you get to know them.
So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and you never know what incredible discoveries you might make. Until next time.